Join me as I dive into the controversial story of the LL pilot accused of causing the Flight 1862 crash and hear his side of the tale. The aviation world was left reeling when LL Flight 1862 crashed, and at the center of the controversy was the pilot, accused of causing the devastating incident. Today, he's breaking his silence, and I'm going to share his perspective on the crash that shocked the world. The crash of Flight 1862 sparked a media frenzy, with the pilot at the center of the storm. He was accused of being responsible for the tragedy, and the public outcry was palpable. The incident raised serious questions about aviation safety and the accountability of pilots. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that this was a complex case, with multiple factors contributing to the crash. The pilot's actions were scrutinized, and many were quick to point fingers, calling for him to be held accountable. The crash was a wake-up call for the aviation industry, highlighting the need for greater transparency and accountability. The pilot's alleged mistakes sparked a heated debate about the role of human error in aviation incidents. As the legal battle unfolded, the pilot's reputation was left in tatters, with many calling for him to be stripped of his license. The stakes were high, not just for the pilot, but for the families of the victims and the entire aviation community. The investigation was a long and grueling one, with experts poring over the evidence to piece together what went wrong. The pilot's defense team argued that there were mitigating circumstances, but the prosecution was adamant that he was to blame. The spotlight was firmly on the pilot, and the world watched with bated breath as the drama unfolded. The crash of Flight 1862 was more than just a tragic accident, it was a test of the aviation industry's ability to learn from its mistakes and hold its pilots accountable. On that fateful day, Flight 1862 took off from Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, bound for Tel Aviv. The Boeing 747 cargo plane was carrying a full load of freight, including hazardous materials. As the plane approached its destination, disaster struck. The crash was catastrophic, with all 3 crew members on board losing their lives. In the aftermath of the crash, the pilot was left to pick up the pieces, his reputation in tatters. The investigation was ongoing, and the pilot's every move was scrutinized. He was vilified in the press, and many called for him to be punished. But as the evidence began to emerge, a more complex picture began to take shape. The pilot's initial response to the allegations was one of shock and denial. He maintained that he had done everything by the book, and that the crash was an unforeseen tragedy. But as the evidence mounted, he was forced to confront the possibility that he may have played a role in the crash. In this exclusive interview, the pilot reveals the emotional toll of living with the weight of the crash. He speaks candidly about the guilt and shame he felt in the aftermath, and how he struggled to come to terms with his role in the incident. It's a deeply personal and emotional account, one that sheds new light on the human side of the tragedy. The pilot's words are laced with emotion as he recounts the events leading up to the crash. He speaks of the sense of responsibility he felt, of the weight of the lives lost, and of the crushing guilt that followed. It's a deeply personal and emotional account, one that sheds new light on the human side of the tragedy. Listening to the pilot's words, it's clear that this is a man haunted by the ghosts of his past. He's a man who has lived with the weight of the crash for years, and who is still grappling with the consequences of that fateful day. The pilot's revelations are a stark reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for redemption and forgiveness. His words are a testament to the human spirit, a spirit that can persevere even in the face of tragedy and adversity. In conclusion, the pilot's perspective on the Flight 1862 crash is a sobering reminder of the importance of accountability and transparency in the aviation industry. It's a powerful story, one that highlights the need for greater empathy and understanding in the face of tragedy. Thanks for watching, and if you have any thoughts on the pilot's story, be sure to leave them in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning more about aviation safety incidents, be sure to check out my related video, where I explore some of the most shocking cases in aviation history.